Good morning, TK. I hope you had a really fun morning meeting with Miss Cortez. We are going to move on and do some reading. So yesterday we heard a brand new story, The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. Today we're going to be looking at our concept board for this book to see what sort of things we're going to be focusing on in this story. So let's begin with our objective. Our objective is what we are going to learn. I can identify long and short. So we're going to be looking at things that are really long and things that are short. So let's think about what tools we might need to master this objective. Over here we've got our objective tools. I know you can't see them, but they're over here. I'm thinking that in order to think about things that are long and short, I'm going to need my eyes because I'm going to need to look at them to see whether or not they are long and short. And also because I know that identify means to find, like with our little magnifying glass here. I also know that I'm probably going to need my brain to think about whether things are long or are they short. So let's look up here at what we're going to be thinking about this unit. On our board, I see some characters, and remember, the character is who the story's about. And I notice a couple different characters on our board. I see two of our mice here. There are some clues here in what the mice are wearing that tell me which character they are. I know that this is the country mouse because she is wearing more plain clothes. Remember, the country mouse likes to be cozy and simple in her little home. But the city mouse, I know this is the city mouse because she's wearing some very fancy clothes. She's got a fancy hat, a fancy scarf, some fancy high heels. The city mouse is a little bit fancier than the country mouse. Now we need to look at the city mouse and the country mouse and these little paths they have here. If you notice, there is an arrow next to them. An arrow. I'm going to draw it bigger here so you can see an arrow. And it is pointing somewhere. It is pointing to where the mice live. Now if you notice, with the country mouse, it's pointing to a little tree stump with a hole in it because the country mouse lives out in the wilderness in the country. Now our job is to help the country mouse get from where she is now to her home by following the arrow. The arrow is making a straight line from left to right. So I'm going to use, let's see what color we have up here. We're going to be using a brown crayon, so I'm going to use my brown marker here, and I'm going to be drawing a straight line from left to right to take the country mouse to her home. Now the city mouse, she has a little hole in the wall. If you remember, the city mouse lived in a big fancy home. So I'm going to be following this arrow, taking the city mouse from left to right to her home. Now, which mouse had a longer path home? Which line looks longer? The country mouse's line or the city mouse's line? The city mouse. No, not the city mouse. The country mouse. The country mouse took a longer path home. The city mouse took a shorter path home. So we drew a shorter line for the city mouse and a longer line for the country mouse. Now, both these mice here have some cheese. We want to help them get to their cheese. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to follow the arrow from left to right and draw a straight line from the mouse to the cheese. Now what about here? Which mouse had a longer path to the cheese? which mouse had a longer path to the cheese? The city mouse. The city mouse had a longer path to the cheese. The country mouse had a shorter path. Now, we're also going to be looking at the shape of rectangles this unit. So over here, I have two of my characters in rectangle boxes. If you remember, a rectangle has 4 sides and 2 are longer than the other 2. Oh yeah! So for our rectangle, I'm going to make 2 longer sides and 2 shorter sides. This rectangle is a tall rectangle. It goes up higher. I can also make a rectangle that is wide. So here are my 2 longer sides are horizontal lines, and my 2 shorter sides are vertical lines. Remember, we learned all about horizontal and vertical at the beginning of the year? So here, I have 2 rectangles. You can see that both of them have longer sides and then 2 shorter sides. Whoops. Maybe today you can practice making some rectangles when you're all done with your other work. Now, the last thing that we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be looking at some mice. You have a page that has some mice like this on it. Just like we have our country mouse and our city mouse, we have 2 mice here. We need to look at which of these mice has longer tails and which one of them have shorter tails. So I'm going to get out the page like you have so that you can follow along with what I'm doing. Now that you have this page in front of you, our job is to find the mice with the long tails and to color them brown. So go ahead and get out your brown crayon. And let's begin by looking for the mice with longer tails. I see these 2 mice right here. Now I need to see which one has a longer tail. This mouse has a little short tail, so that's not what I'm looking for. But this mouse has a really nice long tail. Now my job is to color that mouse in brown. So I'm going to color in the whole mouse. I'm starting by outlining so that I can do nice coloring in the lines. I got its paws here, got its whole body, its paws, little nose and whiskers. And now I'm going to color that mouse in brown. I'm going to do the whole mouse, doing its body. There we go. Little arms and ears, little snout, and that big, long tail. Now for the mouse with short tails, you can color it any other color you want. So I noticed that this mouse had a little short tail. So I have blue here. You can use any color crayon you want because it has a short tail. I'm going to color that mouse not in brown, but in a different color. So here I'm outlining my little mouse here. Boop. And its little ears. And its little paws. And its feet. And his little tail. And then I would color that one in all the way as well. Coloring in the lines with a color other than brown. So there's my little blue mouse with a short tail. So your job is going to be to finish that sheet. And remember, you're only using brown on the mice with long tails. And with the mice with short tails, you can color them another color. So I'm excited to see that work that you can send to me, put in the portfolio, take a picture of. And I will see you back here for handwriting.